What's up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another video. In today's video we are going to go over the costs of ownership and daily running of an Amarok. Now we are not talking about the new Amarok, the Amar Ford. We are now talking about the proper Amarok between, I think it is 2011 and 2022-2023. So cost of the car. You can get an Amarok for a bunch of different prices. If you're finding an older model, it will obviously be less than a newer model. The 2 litre will be cheaper than the V6. Okay, so the price is going to depend on your car, the mileage, the condition, the age, and any other variables such as trim levels, optional extras that the previous owner has put on, etc. First expense we're going to go over is the insurance. So this is obviously driver dependent. It depends on your age, how long you've had your driver's license for, have you had any insurance claims in the past few years. I currently pay 1,052 Rand, and that is with an 8,000 Rand excess. If I wanted to bring the excess down to 1,500 Rand excess, then I'll be paying 1,450 Rand a month for my insurance. So you can play around with that with the insurance providers that you guys want to go with. I'm sure they'll also have different options. I'm with Naked Insurance, so I'm able to customize it and customize my cover on the app, which makes it quite nice and easy. Next, we're going to look at fuel consumption. So this obviously depends on the Amarok that you have. We have the 2 litre 4-bangers, which are obviously going to be slightly lighter on fuel than the 3 litre V6. Now, one thing to keep in mind that I didn't know originally when I was first looking for an Amarok, I didn't quite think of the fact that there are also variations to all of them. Okay, so you have different power levels with the 2 litre and the V6, but then also with the 2 litre you get the 2 litre single turbo, and then you get a 2 litre bi-turbo. So obviously the bi-turbo is going to use a bit more fuel than the single turbo. And another point I forgot to make earlier, you also need to decide if you are wanting a 4Motion, which is the 4-wheel drive variant, or just the normal rear-wheel drive, because that also makes a difference in terms of maintenance and then also price, obviously. So you need to figure out if you're going to be off-roading, then you're going to need to get the 4-wheel drive version. Otherwise the normal 2-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive version is going to be perfect. So diesel is currently around about 22 Rand and 89 cents per litre. Okay, the VW Amaroks come standard with an 80 litre fuel tank. Okay, so with that we're going to calculate it that it's going to add up to roughly 1,700 Rand to fill it up. Okay, I then get an average of about 850 Ks off a single tank. Okay, so that's now from full to empty. Alright, I never leave it empty, but that's more or less what I can get. Now obviously the fuel consumption depends on how you drive. Okay, the best I've gotten is about 7.3 litres per 100. That's coming back up from Durban, which is quite surprising because obviously it's coming uphill, but it was with traffic. So obviously depending on the speeds that you drive at, your consumption will be higher or lower. Highest that I've gotten is probably around about 16 litres per 100, and that was when I was pulling a really heavy double axle trailer. So yeah, it'll obviously just depend on the load as well. So next we're going to look at the mods and the expenses that I have spent on this car. Okay, now these mods, some of them are for looks purposes, some of them are for functionality, and some of them are also just for longevity of the car, for the engine, the cooling system, etc. Okay, to optimize it, to sort out any of the issues that it comes with from factory, to sort of free up some fuel economy and some power. So first we're going to look at is the roll bar that I have in the back. That did not come with the car. I actually had to buy that separately, and that was 1,250 Rand. Next we did a decat downpipe. Now we did this at Amarok Auto Spares. They have a thing going where they'll swap out your catalytic converter for one that they've punched a hole through, and they'll do that for you for free. I now have some more flow, the engine can breathe better, which also helps with fuel economy and low down torque. I've then added the cover on the back, which was 1,200 Rand. This was also used. I also got it from Amarok Auto Spares. I'll link Amarok Auto Spares down in the description below. Okay, next I have a custom stage 1 ECU and TCU tune from RK Motion. That custom tune ran me about 6.5. We then have an EGR delete. The EGR valves, or the EGR systems, are one of the most common faults. Okay, so this is a system that recirculates exhaust gases for the emissions. Okay, so in order for these cars to pass their emission recycle the exhaust gases, which obviously then increases the intake temperatures for the engine. So the engine's temperatures are higher because of this system, and this is normally a common failure point on the Amaroks. So what I've done is I have software deleted it, and then I've also hardware deleted it. Okay, so you get a little blanking plate and you completely remove the EGR system. That eliminates one of the weaknesses for these cars. Okay, if you were buying one for yourself, you would have to figure out if you would want to find an Amarok that still has the EGR valve, or if you would want to find one that actually had it removed. Now keep in mind, if they did have it removed, then the car has been running at cooler temperatures for longer, and obviously hotter temperatures for anything is never good. Next we're going to move on to tires. I have the 265/65 R17. What I did was I got some BF Goodrich trail terrain tires, so they were the happy medium between sort of normal road terrain and then pro terrain. I didn't quite want to go the all-terrain route because they were just a bit hectic, and I do most of my driving on the road. I just wanted something that was still good enough for off-road when I do go on holiday or when I decide to go up a mountain somewhere. Those ran me about 14,000 for a set of 4 with fitment and balancing, etc. We then also have done a 30mm lift kit on the front of the car. So the Amarok standard, it comes with the back sort of up a bit more, so it's almost slanted downwards in the front. So what I did is then obviously have the leveling kit, which sort of just levels it out a bit more, and it just looks a bit better. It also gives me slightly more clearance for when I'm off-roading and doing 4x4 trips and stuff. That ran me 3,011 Rand. I then did that at East Auto at Amarlift. I'll also leave their details in the description below. They are the best when it comes to servicing and looking after your Amaroks. They've absolutely been fantastic over the past while that I've been taking my Amarok there. So if you guys have an Amarok, I would absolutely recommend taking your car to them. I then also have installed Ella Supernova 7 2.0 spotlights on the front of the car. That ran about 5,800 Rand. And then the mounting bracket was 1,250. Now, on the mounting options, a lot of people end up getting the front nudge bar in order to mount the lights onto. You just buy a little bracket and then you can mount the actual spotlights onto the nudge bar. But I didn't like the look of the nudge bar, so I didn't want to get one on, and I wanted to find a solution that I could just attach the spotlights to the front of the car without one. And then once again, Amarlift had a solution. They managed to hook me up with a spotlight bracket. Next we have the charge of labor to install the bracket and then the wiring for my spotlights, and that was 1,200 Rand. Now with the wiring, they did a full proper install. They soldered the wires together. They also sent the one control module through the firewall, put it under, and now there's a little button on my center console, so it's nice and easy for me to control the lights from here without having to reach over into the glove box or something like that. But that's the end of the mods as far as I can remember. We're going to look at service costs. Okay, servicing and maintenance is always a big cost when it comes to any car. So far I've had the service at the low end being 2,835 for a minor service, and so far the highest service that I've had is about 7,500 Rand. Okay, so I did do a few extras with the more expensive service. I did the diff oil change, there was an aircon service, the steering rack bushes also got replaced. Now remember, it's important to keep all the fluids in your car fresh. Okay, a lot of people overlook things like a gearbox oil, they'll also overlook the diff oil and stuff like that. All of this oil ages, okay? The viscosity changes and it does have heat cycles. So just as a pure maintenance standpoint, I decided I would want to throw in all of those and get those all done at the same time. Next we're going to move on to the gearbox. So this Amarok has the 8-speed ZF Auto, okay? Now that is a big expensive gearbox, so if you're going to have any issues, you're really going to seriously pay. Okay, a new box is going to run you about, I don't know, 75 grand, somewhere there. It's like stupid expensive. I honestly didn't think that they were being serious when they said how much it would cost. I knew that the previous owner did not do a gearbox service. Now when looking for this Amarok, I did so much research. I checked up on the history, I made sure that all the services were done. Those are all points that you must look at when looking for an Amarok to make sure that you're not buying a dud. Now there's obviously lots of independent service providers for the gearbox service, but being such an expensive gearbox, I didn't want to take any chances by going to an independent service shop. So I actually went to ZF themselves in Edenvale, and then I booked the car in for a gearbox service there. Now, this is really not cheap, okay? Really not cheap. They quoted me 7,298 Rand for the service, okay? So that's when they're going to sort of, they're going to drain all the oil out of the box, pump in fresh oil, check everything, do a full check. I'm trying to think, there might have been like a filter change of sorts. But anyway, at the end of the day, I was charged 5,773 Rand for the gearbox oil change. ZF themselves recommend to service the gearboxes and replace the oil every 80,000 Ks. Now, the manufacturers always say, oh, a lifetime oil. There's no such thing as oil that lasts a lifetime. So guys, service your gearboxes every 80,000 Ks, okay? Make sure you do it properly. Make sure you use the right oil. The right oil is extremely important in the longevity of the gearbox. So guys, when buying a used VW Amarok, it is so important to do your homework and find an Amarok that has been looked after properly, no shortcuts, it hasn't missed any services, all the maintenance has been done, and just have a look at the interior. A good way of telling the quality of a car and how it's been looked after is by how it looks inside. So it's really important. Look at the small things, do your homework, take your time and don't rush. But at the end of the day, damn, these are absolutely solid cars. Absolutely solid cars. I have not had a single issue with this. I bought it at 160,000 Ks, okay, so it was a high mileage example to begin with, and now we are on 217,000, and I've had absolutely zero issues, okay. Make sure your maintenance is done. I'm doing a service every 10,000 Ks. I know it's recommended every 15,000 Ks, but once again, just to be on top of things, you're going to do it slightly more often than usual, especially if you are towing. That also makes a big difference, or you always loaded all the time. So yeah, guys, I hope you found this video helpful and entertaining. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed